Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you locally by Caesars Entertainment Group of Atlantic City. Come experience the ultimate sports destination all season long at the Wild Wild West, Tropicana, and Harrah's Resort, Atlantic City. Book your game day experience today at Caesars.com. Geoff Mosher is here from the Inside the Birds podcast with observations on an Eagles loss, which was expected. What was unexpected is 42 points again. I don't know. Is that unexpected to give up 42 points with this defense against that Chiefs offense?
Well, the Chiefs average about 30 points a game, and they were playing an Eagles defense that is not among the top 10 or 15. Well, actually, I guess after the first 2 games, they probably were, but realistically doesn't have a whole lot of playmaking talent and has struggled to stop the run. So if you thought the Chiefs might come into Philadelphia and score above average, then you would have expected something closer to 40 points. I thought that the Chiefs, I think I predicted them to win 34-26 or something like that. So it was sort of in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I get it. They're good. It's a good offense.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the problems and issues that Jonathan Gannon's group is having the last 2 games? Week 1 looked like a very good unit against the Atlanta Falcons. Week 2, they kept the team in the game. There were some things like some long drives, not a lot of points. Why the last 2 weeks does it look like they are in over their heads?
Well, obviously it's a copycat league, and over the last, you saw in week 1 that Atlanta did a great job in the first half running the ball against the Eagles. And the only reason why Atlanta stopped running the ball against the Eagles wasn't because of anything the Eagles did. It was other than going ahead offensively, right? And the Falcons fell behind by too many points and had to start passing. You saw at times in the Niners game, the run defense was good early, but then the second half, the Niners figured some things out, and you wonder if they had their full set of running backs that game, starting running backs, and not, a rookie making his first availability in Trey Sermon, and then the other kid who was the 5th-round pick rookie. You wonder if they would have done more damage. But clearly, Dallas then set the template for when you have a good offensive line and a good running back, that's how you attack the Eagles. The Eagles are playing a cover 2 defense, and it's funny how we have the argument from the other side every year, the discussion. Jim Schwartz plays cover 1. He brings a safety into the box. What that does is puts your cornerbacks on an island. And what happened would be the cornerbacks were constantly getting beat deep. How many times do we talk about the Eagles getting beat over the top? Well, Jonathan Gannon has a different style of defense. This is his own thing, by the way. He's not doing this just because Jim Schwartz did it differently. He wants to play a more Mike Zimmer-esque cover 2 or even Eberflus in Indianapolis. So you have a lighter box and you invite the run. You have to be able to stop the run better with less people at your disposal to stop the run, which means you need good personnel. You need good linebackers. You have Darius Leonard in Indianapolis, one of the best linebackers. In Minnesota, they had Eric Kendricks. They had Harrison Smith, a great safety, right? Sendejo at some point was a good run-stopping safety, and they had Anthony Barr. The Eagles don't have that.
No.
So I know people get frustrated, Mike, and I totally understand the how difficult it is to watch a scheme that seems soft and unaggressive, right? I understand how frustrating that is, and the alternative is to try to play the Chiefs and put more guys in the box and then go one-on-one with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and McCole Hardman, and we could just be having this argument about a 41-30 game just looking differently.
Yeah, that's a good point. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, Football at 4. Now, let me ask you this question, because isn't being a coach saying, hey, these are the players I have, I'm going to utilize what they do well? It seems that Jon Ganon's saying, I don't care what they do well, you're going to play my system.
This is where I think he's caught between what his job is for the long haul and what his job is for today. And I would say we kind of saw this play out in 2013. Chip Kelly's the head coach. Billy Davis is the defensive coordinator. They moved from a 4-3 to a 3-4. But you move to a 3-4, you got guys like Trent Cole, guys like Brandon Graham, and some other personnel, Cedric Thornton, Benny Logan, who were not drafted for that kind of a scheme. So you had to kind of move players in and out, and the organization tried to help that transition, if you remember, by signing like a Connor Barwin and an Isaac Sopoaga, getting people that fit that scheme. But I wrote this down, I tweeted, I can't remember, but they gave up like 140 points in the first 4 games. It was bad. Everybody remembers that great opener against Washington where they scored all those points, right? But they forget that they lost the next 3 games and they were blown out by Kansas City and went to Denver and lost 55-20. I mean, they gave up over 140 points in a month. That was bad. Mm-hmm. Then they came back and won the division. So to answer your question, Jonathan Gannon's here and Sirianni are here to implement a scheme, culture, and bring their philosophies to this team. Right. And if he just starts being something different and doing things different that are then he's not getting these players prepared for the future, and he's also not evaluating which players can hack it and which can't. So I know it sucks, but I honestly, as I say all the time, if you thought the Eagles were going to be a really good team and a lot better, that's on you, not them, because they did not make the type of moves. They did not make enough moves to be really competitive this year with good teams.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, you look around, the problem is, like, they have a bunch of good players. They don't have great players, and they have a lot of average players. I mean, you look around, Brandon Graham's probably your best player. Now he's hurt. Fletcher Cox, what do you think about him? Everybody's panicking. Is it that he's slowing down? Our team's saying, look, no, he's the best guy, and we're going to game plan for him. So why is Fletcher Cox not statistically doing much?
I mean, I think it's everything. I think he's a year older. He's not the guy he was 5 or 6 years ago. He does see a whole lot of double teams, but he's getting pushed back in the run game because he's playing a different technique and hand usage. I mean, the Eagles, again, had some talented players on defense in 2013. D'Amico Ryans was a good player. Trent Cole was a good player. Brandon Graham's a good player. But they did not fit that scheme that they were running. And Fletcher Cox has been, for the last God knows how many years, because not only was there Schwartz, but there was also Jim Washburn before at one point, right before Chip Kelly. But he's been flying up the field every single play. Fly up the field, fly up the field, fly up the field. Now, all of a sudden, overnight, people expect that he's going to be a 2-gapper and read and react, and it's just going to come naturally to him. That takes time. I mean, here's another thing I talk about all the time. The year the Giants won the Super Bowl, the first of 2 Super Bowls for Eli Manning, Steve Spagnuolo was the defensive coordinator, right? He had just come back. He had gotten fired from where he was. They gave up like 88 points in their first 3 games, and they had Tuck, Umanura, and Strahan. Why? They're playing an entirely new scheme. And so I know it sucks, but you got to give this team some time to figure out an entirely new scheme.
That said, I mean, I know Darius Slay hinted at that yesterday. I mean, I don't know the exact quote, but he hinted at, hey, anytime there is a new system, let me see if I can pull it up with me. He says, that
was my question, by the way.
All right. So he says, yeah, I mean, typically, as you know, with a new staff, you have to learn. It's still early in the season. That's a good thing. But we have to start now. So that being said, of the guys they have here, how many are long for the next system, I guess, or his system is really the question.
It's a great question. And to be honest, and any criticism is fair to say, well, if they need different players to fit this scheme, what confidence do you have? Because it looks right now that the kind of player that they really need to have are really good linebackers, good safeties, someone who can play the box and the post, interchangeable, get down there, make the tackle, and, of course, good corners. You always need good corners. So what evidence have the Eagles shown over the last 20 years that they're drafting good corners, good safeties, and good
That's a good point there.
linebackers?
So where does that come? Is that an organizational philosophy? Is that Jeffrey Laurie? I mean, if Howie Roseman went to Jeff Laurie and said, look, I really think we got to take Micah Parsons, is Jeff Laurie saying, no, we're not drafting a linebacker? Is that Roseman who doesn't value the linebacker? Where does that philosophy come from? Because obviously, they don't value linebackers. Who doesn't value linebackers? Roseman, Laurie, who?
I would say yes. I mean, look, but you know the answer to the question because we can talk about round 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts versus Jeremy Chinn. Jeremy Chinn was the personnel staff want, but the Lurie Roseman want was Jalen Hurts. Now, that might wind up being good if you got yourself the right quarterback. And then this year, second round, Landon Dickerson. There, you had the kid from Notre Dame. What's his name with the J? They call him Joker, J-O-K, Jeremiah Owosu.
Yeah.
All right, Owosu. But this team values offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and quarterbacks. And you can say that they have a pretty good track record of those positions,
Right,
but then you can also say that they don't
I get that,
the
but
other
where
guys.
is that like, is that from Andy Reid? Did Andy
Yes.
Reid give that to Jeff Laurie, and now Jeff Laurie keeps that and says, look, this is what we've done under Andy, our most successful, and that's what we're going to continue to do?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've always known, Howie Roseman came up through the organization at a time when Andy Reid's the head coach, and,
Right.
and when Jeffrey and Joe Banner when Jeffrey brought the team and Joe Banner was in charge. I mean, it was only about a year before they hired, Andy Reid, and then had their best run of success until the Super Bowl with Andy Reid. So yes, a lot of what they get is from Andy Reid. Now, don't go blaming Andy Reid though, because he's got Tyrann Mathieu out there, right? I mean, there have been times where L'Jarius needs a good cornerback. They've done a good job in Kansas City. I know they're kind of lousy right now defensively, but in general, they've been able to put some pretty good linebackers and safeties and corners on the field when they need to.
Well, they didn't draft Mathieu.
No, but they prioritized him in free agency.
Right.
And yeah, sure. So Howie did that with Malcolm Jenkins, and so he did a good job there. And maybe they're obviously going to have to do that along with drafting well too.
Right, and that seems like if you look at the Eagles, what did they? You mentioned they went out and got Malcolm Jenkins. They traded for Darius Slay because those are areas where they don't want to draft.
Yes, and so I always say though, if you're not going to do that, right, you have to figure out other ways to get them. Now, there's a lot of tricks of the trade here, and there's a lot of discussions to be had that will be had in the offseason about once you start fixing those areas and getting that. Your other big problem is that you're probably your 5 or 6 best players on the team right now are old. To be honest with you, if everybody's healthy, you write a list of your top 5 or 6 players on the Eagles. You're starting with Kelsey, talking about Lane Johnson, talking about Brandon Brooks, you're talking about Brandon Graham. So you're going to have to find replacements for those guys in the next 2 or 3 years as you build this team up.
Yeah. On the defensive side of the ball, Graham, you can't count on him anymore. Fletcher Cox, you can't go into a season with him as your top defensive player. That's obvious. You need to fix the linebackers. Your secondary, I mean, Slay and Nelson. I mean, Slay, to me, he's playing well, but he's over 30. He's going to be
right. Exactly. By the time this team's ready, that you could see why he's frustrated, right? And he understands his learning curve, but he also understands he's not getting any younger.
Right. He's like, I got traded here thinking I got out of Detroit and that whole mess to come to a place that was winning, and now I'm coming to a place that is now becoming a team that is rebuilding here. So that being said, the defense has its issues, but the offense the last 2 weeks, I thought Sirianni was a big problem in Dallas and San Francisco. I thought his game plans were terrible. I thought his game plan was better yesterday, but still could be better.
Right. So the question that I think we need to really learn is, was the game plan different and therefore better, or were the 2 game plans that have succeeded so far also against 2 defenses that pretty much stink right now? That's the reality. They faced 2 good defenses. They look completely out of whack. They faced 2 bad defenses. They look good. So I think the Carolina Panthers are kind of a good test because they have good defensive players, and they were good for the first 3 weeks, but they were also playing lousy teams. So I don't think they're great, but I don't think they're bad.
I mean, quite frankly, right, we're frustrated because we always want to win, but this team didn't have a lot of expectations. And quite frankly, did you think you were beating San Fran, Dallas, or Kansas City? No.
I did not. I know some people did or saw these as coin flip games. I didn't. I felt the Eagles could realistically only win 2 of their first 6 or 7 games, and we'll see. The only difference, Adam, Mike, real quick, the only difference I'll say from the 2013 team that figured it out as it gone along. You remember Nick Foles became the quarterback, and then there's 7 touchdowns against Oakland, and you go to Green Bay and you win there. That schedule got so light. They had the Packers had Scott Tolzien and Seneca Wallace at quarterback as Rodgers was hurt. The Raiders were a mess when they went out there and played them. This schedule doesn't feel like it gets overly light in stretches. You got a game against the Lions, okay, but the Saints are going to be formidable. The Chargers are certainly formidable. The Raiders look really good.
That being said, you're right, but I'll say, all right, Kansas City is a Super Bowl contender. I think Dallas is a Super Bowl contender. I know people don't want to say it. I had them in my Fine 5 last week. That team's just good. They're just legitimately good. They've got a young player on defense that they can scheme around now. They got a guy in the secondary where they were horrible last year, and they got weapons all over. San Francisco's just a gritty, solid team. You
Yes.
could find out, like, Carolina's just not flat out better than you. They might be slightly better. They're not flat out better. The only team left that you're going to say is just flat out, talent-wise better is Tampa. Now, there's other teams that are going to be slightly better, but at least you'll be able to kind of see a measuring stick. I don't think you get a measuring stick against Dallas and Kansas City. They kick your ass because they're better than you.
I would probably put the Chargers as a pretty decent favorite going into that game.
All right.
I'm trying to think who else.
They got Tampa Bay, the Raiders, the Lions, the Chargers, Denver. I mean, the Saints lost to the Giants yesterday, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I know, but the problem, Mike, is that in general it's tough to go and win on the road, and some of these coin flip games are road games. Carolina's a road game. Las Vegas is a road game. Denver's a road game. You're not winning those 3 games on the road. It's just the statistics say that you're very unlikely to win.
Oh, no,
all
I'm
3
not
of those
talking
games
about
and be
winning
lucky.
I'm not talking about winning the games. I'm talking about kind of get a measuring
Competing?
stick of where you are. You know,
Absolutely.
like how far away are you? It's hard to, like, you could say I'm far away up against Kansas City. Of course I'm far away to Kansas City. They're in the Super Bowl. I'm not. Like, we're not there. But
I
how
think that's
far
fair.
are you from that next tier? And I think that's where you can find out with Carolina, Vegas, the Saints, who are, they lost to freaking the Giants yesterday. You can't lose to the Giants. Come on.
I know. Wait, didn't they destroy somebody in the season opener,
They
though?
beat
I
the
can't remember.
Packers.
Yeah, so week 1 is such a hoodwink. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat Buffalo in week 1,
Right.
and everybody was,
And look at Philadelphia. Like, if you're just saying Philly against Atlanta, on the road, they just Rochambeau them. Atlanta goes to New York and beats the Giants, and then yesterday it's, 32-30 against Washington? So you would say, well, Philly's clearly ahead of where those teams are, which isn't the case. It's just
Correct.
like, I think we just have to kind of take a foot off the gas a little on how bad they are, how far away they are, and let what this year is supposed to be, an evaluation.
I totally agree with you. I think this is supposed to be an evaluation year. It's supposed to be a growing pains year. You're going to find out some things that you like. You're going to find out some things you don't like. And then you have the discussion in the offseason of whether they're equipped to be able to fix their mistakes the right way.
What'd you think of, obviously he makes the comment, Sirianni, that Hurts was, one of the best games he's ever seen. Is he growing? Is he getting better? Was that a special game that we witnessed yesterday?
I thought it was a very good game, efficient game. I think the game plan really helped, and I think I've only been able to watch first quarter and a half so far, and I'm kind of charting some things. I think on his first 8 or 9 completions that I saw, that they were completed to the guy he was meant to throw to, because the design of the play was meant to get that guy open using either motion, misdirection, play action.
I just want to stop you real fast, okay? Because I was in the car for the first drive. I'm listening on the radio. The way Reese and Quick made it out to be was that that first drive was very well designed and some really good design plays. Did you see that?
Correct.
Now,
yes,
the one
absolutely.
thing I said from listening on the radio, this is why I can't listen to the game on the radio as much as I'd like to. I'm in the car. I have to watch, is the throw he misses. They said that the throw was high. I'm trying to get a view of, does he need to make that throw in the back of the end zone? On the radio, he misses them high.
Zach Ertz, is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's got to be a touchdown.
I'm saying that's what I wanted to see.
It just had to be
from
a
you.
touchdown.
Does that throw need to be completed?
Absolutely.
And who's it on? Is it on Ertz or is it on Hurts?
No, he had time. Ertz was wide open.
Okay.
Like, I get it. You're not always going to put it right in the guy's chest, but I mean, that one should have been
right.
In
No,
his chest.
totally. Like, I'm asking because I'm going off the radio call, and when just hearing it, the throw was high. But sometimes you're like, well, could the guy have caught it, or is it a simple pitch and catch that you have to make?
Yeah, I mean, look. Does DeAndre Hopkins make that play? Maybe, but I mean, it's you're supposed to make it easy for your tight end when you have the wide open lane to do it, and he didn't.
Okay, Geoff Mosher, football at 4. Other than that, I mean, 4/5 of your offensive line was out. I thought
the offensive line played well.
Played well, right? Zavonta Smith. Other than, they had 3 touchdowns taken off the board yesterday. I mean, how different's the game? They go 3 for 6 in the red zone, 3 touchdowns taken off. it's a weird game. I don't leave this game thinking, oh my gosh, I just leave this game saying Kansas City's just better than you are right now.
Absolutely. I know that people, like you're saying with the 3 touchdowns, I know that there's missed opportunities and penalties, and it certainly could have been a closer game, but I have zero confidence that the Eagles would have ever stopped Kansas City had they really needed to come up with. I mean, they had a chance even late in the game, the 3rd and 6, and they get pressure, and somehow you're not even within 5 miles of Tyreek Hill on that play. I mean, the Chiefs had seven possessions and scored 6 touchdowns.
The Barnett penalty kills you too, man.
That was rough.
I mean,
now, he might have been blocked into him, but still.
Yeah, just like the video said last week, it's always him.
Right? I know. But you know what?
Did anybody ask him about that?
Yeah, and I know he said he felt that in that type of play, as opposed to the other ones, it wasn't reckless. It was more part of the action happening at the time.
Yeah.
But still not acceptable. But really, Josh Sweat had a really bad – Josh Sweat had an offside on his own sack that set that that enabled another touchdown.
Now,
so, I mean, it's bad.
Sirianni indicated today that he had some tough conversations in the defensive room. What does that mean?
Well, I'm guessing he told his coaches that they got to figure this out.
Does that mean guys are getting benched or that?
Perfect question. Okay. We'll see.
All right. Last one.
But, by the way, you got Ryan Kerrigan. See, sometimes I feel like fans, like, you got to see some of these things that in your mind don't make sense and funnel the criticism that Ryan Kerrigan has not made a play. Does Ryan Kerrigan suck? How about the fact that Ryan Kerrigan's playing like a hand-in-the-dirt 5 technique? He's never played that. This guy's used to standing up and rushing the passer. But because of Brandon Graham's injury, he's got to get down there, try to be somebody he's not. Yeah. That's not his fault.
I said that earlier. I said you got Kerrigan playing a position that he had no intention of playing. Guess what? If you told him, hey, we're going to sign you and play with your hand on the ground, he's going to say, I'm going to sign someplace else.
Listen, if the Eagles are 3-8 after 11 and you're coming up to the trade deadline and somebody wants to give you something from Ryan Kerrigan, do it.
Sirianni said the language was harsher today when discussing penalties with his team. I mean, what's that mean? You throw the F word in there?
Well, I think every time rock, paper, scissors happened, he was throwing rock. And whenever you know how like some people do it, like you take your hand and you smash it against the other person's hand. If you have the rock and they have the scissor, he was a little extra on. I have to think that he. Oh, but you raised the perfect question. I understand that that's what he says, but we know that talking without action and honestly, what are they supposed to do? Take Derek Barnett off the field now and play who?
Right. Well, the fans are, play Patrick Johnson, play Tyreek Jackson. What's his name?
They're actually playing these guys, though. That's the thing. It's like you play them more, you're going to do even worse.
All right. The Inside the Birds podcast dropped this morning. Check it out with reaction to this latest Eagles loss and hear what the guys had to say with it about the game. Mosher, Kaplan. Tomorrow, Andrew DeCecco's here. What time does Sirianni talk, by the way?
On Mondays?
Yes.
Yeah, that thing has been 2:30 to 2:45 in that neighborhood. It's not exactly. He's not right on the dot.
Yeah, well, so they don't send out the media schedule. I used to get it all the time. I don't get that one anymore.
Call them because they changed up their email blast thing.
I get every other email from them. Everything else, I get all the transcripts. I get all the notes. I get it. The only one I don't get is the media schedule for the week.
Who did you piss off?
All right, Geoff Mosher in the Inside the Birds podcast. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, the Football at 4. Andrew's here tomorrow. Jeff's back on Wednesday. Eagles-Panthers. We'll be talking to our friend Colin Thompson down the road.
Nice. CT.
All right, man. Good to see you.
Does he run for 100 yards against the Eagles?
I
know he's not a running back.
No, you know what they're going to do? A little shovel pass to him.
Hey, he's got a chance to score.
I'll tell you, want to make money? Every Panthers game, put down $5 on Colin Thompson as an time touchdown score. At the end of it, even if you lose 5 every game, you're going to win. He's going to score 1 this year.
No, it's a good idea.
Right?
He is. He definitely is.
All right, Moshe.
All right, bud.
See ya.
See ya.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN.